What's going on, guys? This is Logan with West Desert Wheeler. We got the big hat out today because it's really hot. It's already like 90 degrees and it's only, I don't know, 9:30 in the morning. So we got our Vanquish Optic on my new offering on my website for cut and shuts, the Mickey Thompson Baja Pro XS. These are a narrower tire and they come out to a 5-inch tall height with the 2.2 wheel. This is a great looking tire on the Optic. We're gonna get out there, see how they perform. From the things I've seen on Instagram from people who've already bought sets, people are big fans of these things, and I've driven the 1.9 version and they did excellent for me. So we're excited to go try out the cut and shut version and see what happens. So this past weekend, we ventured up into the mountains, get away from the heat a little bit, get up to 10,000 feet of elevation here in Utah. And I was letting my son drive this brushless RTR Vanquish Optic. The Optic is one of his absolute favorite cars to drive. Atlas has always liked the Optics. Oh, that was a cool new line. I haven't tried that one before. And he ended up cutting a sidewall on the factory tire with those Vanquish Red compounds. So that was interesting, but he was also throttling it around like an Ultra 4 rig a good bit. He was showing off for his friends, and that might have had something to do with that. And after cutting that sidewall, fortunately, I'm a little bit experienced in the verses of repairing tires with glue. So I had the wheel and tire taken apart to glue that back up, and I saw these sitting on the shelf. I had not made a video on these tires yet. I was like, you know what, I need to get these out. They really are at home on an Optic or a Capra, something with a little bit wider track width and a little bit longer wheelbase. Now the 5-inch tires you could probably get away with on a little bit smaller vehicle as well. Just depends on exactly what you're after and what style you want. Nice pull there. So we strapped these on. I got the 2.2 Battleborns on this guy. This car looks awesome. So this is the RTR brushless Optic. This is the Sparco edition. And the only changes we made are brass knuckles and now the wheels and tires and inserts. Inserts are perfectly sized for these cut and shuts from SL3D RC. Squid inserts, I tried Vanquish dual stage foams. They were a little bit wide and they were hard to get the narrow wheels to mount without popping a bead out. So for these, I probably would suggest the SL3Ds even over the dual stages. So they're just a little bit narrow. You might be able to put the 194.75 dual stage foams in here and just stretch them onto the 2.2 wheel. You can do that with dual stage foams. As you've probably noticed by now, this is not my typical location I film at, just a different spot not too far away with some different rocks. It's really cool, this area in southern Utah that I'm at, because there are multiple drastically different rock locations nearby. So I can get traction profiles on tires on different kinds of rock. Now this is a sandstone type rock, but I would say this is a little higher in traction than the red rock that I typically drive in Sand Hollow. Sand Hollow is actually fairly slick for sandstone. It kind of erodes really easy. These rocks definitely seem to be a little bit stronger overall and have probably been exposed to the elements for longer. We're gonna see if we can snake through here. I need to get that right rear up while also getting the front end to sneak through. The rear end's in a pinch, just not quite got the push to pull it through. So maybe a little bit different approach here. This would be a really cool one if we could get it to squeeze through. Maybe try the higher line up there. Yeah, this might be a rear steer line. I've still got the RTR servo in here. She's still holding up and doing her thing. Oh, now our cage isn't gonna let us through. I was concerned about that. I needed to keep that front end higher up on that rock. But overall, guys, I want to drive this thing as in stock-ish form for a while. Like, I want to drive this servo for a while and just see overall how they hold up. Typically, I swap them out quickly for reefs just because I like the added power, but you know, I already have a built Optic, so I just want to get more of the RTR experience like you guys are going to get for the first while. Now, I know there's other people in the market that when they buy a car, they immediately replace the servos and stuff. But this guy, already having the brushless servo, or not the brushless servo, the brushless motor, I think more people might be willing to try it just straight out of the box. It's got some upgrades ready to go. I recommend putting the brass knuckles on it for rock crawling. If you're trailing and ripping down trails, maybe not the brass knuckles, but I prefer them on my trucks. But these optics being on straight axles, not being on portals, they've got longer wheelbases, straight axles, they're very stable. And then with these tires, they're 2.2s, but they're not overly large 2.2s, so we really haven't raised the center of gravity much. We get just that little added benefit of some extra clearance for the belly without doing anything too drastic. Right here, I'm just trying to get the rear tires up a ledge. There we go, we finally got the front end to pull it over to. Oh, it's close, it's on the rock rail. Keep pulling up, very nice pull. That's a difficult climb there, but because these things have a good long wheelbase, straight axles, low center of gravity on these trucks, they're working good. Wonder if I have a rod end loose on the rear end. I can see the rear triangulated four-link. It's got a little bit of side-to-side motion when I'm looking for it. This little pinch spot right here can get super tricky. We're gonna see if we can squeeze the optic up through here. I like that right there, come on. We got good sidewalls with these Pro XS's. It's kind of similar to a Trepador. Very aggressive sidewall. Let's get a different view here. So, I want to turn the front left, harder left, but I got a good hook on the front right. If I can straighten it a little bit, it would pull it further. Yeah, straightening is not the answer here. And then when I reverse, it drops that front left in. Laying into the door panel. If you were the driver, you'd have a rock right next to your head right now. I've been there in a real car. It's interesting when that happens. Oh, come on, if she'll stick it. I don't think this current path is gonna work, so we're gonna have to get her on a different path if possible. I want that front left up on the wall. She's not doing it. So now we're wedged in here. Can't even back up. Now we're moving the rock up ahead of us that we probably needed to be in that position, because this line was really barely possible before. Oh dear. Doing buggy things. Well, now we're full turtle. I've driven this line every time I've come out to this area, and it's one of my favorites out here. It's just weird. Nothing else quite has like this weird turn and pinch with a pocket in there. It's just an odd obstacle. And even though I've done it a bunch of times, it's still not like easy, and there's not necessarily like a line that just works every time. You've got to fight it every single time. Every car is just that little bit different. And then being on the incline where we're at right here, it's a steep enough hill that it really messes with what you're trying to accomplish sometimes. Okay, get her rotated. Front end's skipping around, it's not rotating. You can't really climb the left side, you gotta start on the right. That's upsetting our suspension when I do that. Every time I turn, it's just moving it further left, which is not what I want at the moment. We gotta get it set in there first. I want the rock rail in there, not on top of it. Fun stuff, and this is what you can expect when you get yourself a brushless optic. I mean, you can expect it with any optic, but I do like having the Fusion SE out of the box. This is pretty good. Rear tires wadding up. It's getting us the traction. Our brass knuckles could work out for us here. You have to get it way unsettled. I mean, this line has worked for me before, but we moved this rock that's right in front of it. So I don't know if that's helping us. You just don't want to turn too high and have it flip out the top. But you need to wiggle it enough to get yourself some progress. It's really hard in that door panel, the rock is. So it's kind of just holding us still. Okay, now we need that front end to settle. Little movements like this, we're just millimeter by millimeter trying to work our way through this one. Rear tire's up on top of the rock. Pretty wild line here, it's fun. I think we're still pretty safe at this angle. Like, it's really holding that door. We're breaking this sidewall for sure. That's all the steering angle I've got with this current setup. I can see the tires trying to make it go. Our front axle's just about 90 degrees in the air. And so is our rear, so we got to do something to help settle her in. I mean, it can't quite crawl 90 degrees sideways. I wish it could. Or at least it's not gonna survive the line. It's gonna roll out the top. All right, come on, we've been stuck here for a minute. Let's get it going. Like I say, I moved that rock up top, and I think I need a little more room down there, and that rock's coming in contact with the tire instead. All we need is that rear tire to fall in the hole, and this thing should pivot on down to the front tires and go. It's so close. Oh. Okay, now I can't have the front end fall off the rock either. I gotta slide the butt out of there, vanquishing Optic in its big butt. Come on, come on, come on. All right, that worked out, that was cool. Really wild, we had both of our axles at least at like 80 degrees inclination at one point. That worked out, that was awesome. Usually when I go out to make a video, I will put an extra vehicle in the truck just so that if something happens to the main vehicle and video idea, I have some other kind of backup so that I can continue making content for you guys. Today is kind of funny because I'm fortunate that I have my built Optic in addition to this guy. So I just put my extra Optic in there, and worst case, I was just gonna put these wheels and tires on the other truck. So if our servo were to decide it didn't want to be around anymore, we were gonna be able to slap it on my built one with rear steer and keep on trucking. So whether it's this truck or my other Optic, this tire drive was happening. I don't know if, is this a review? I don't know. Demonstration maybe? We're on our rear axle, diffed out, trying to climb a ledge. Seems to like that. All right, I'll take it. They were able to claw their way through it. I've had my WDW winch Capra out here. Did the video about the 5 years of West Desert Wheeler. And that thing pulled some lines out here that was really impressive. Speaking of really impressive, man, I mean, this thing is really not that far from stock, and it just works. I've got to take out the reverse here. That did not work out how I wanted. Yeah, I think we got to reset here, boys. But as I've started to mention lately, the Capra is required to replace so much stuff. I hesitate to recommend them anymore. The Optic is just so good out of the box. It's got a good transmission. You can easily add overdrive to it. The axles are solid. The cage is a little bulky. Specifically the rear end likes to hang on to some stuff, as we saw. Dang it. But these are good, tough buggies. Let's take a look at our rod ends. Yeah, this rod end is stretched out right here. Well, I'll have to replace that guy later. Oh well, hopefully she doesn't snap on us. Let's try the opposite approach through here. So these days, if somebody says they're looking for an RC buggy, I pretty much just go Optic. The Capra can be really awesome, but you're gonna end up throwing more money at it, more upgrades. Like I typically do a flat skid on a Capra with a different transmission to keep it lightweight. You know, good servos on brushless motor, which the Optic now comes with a brushless motor, so that's a bonus. The Capra does not. Both of them are gonna need servo or servos. The Capra comes 4-wheel steer, which is cool. Yeah, I'm not getting the angle I need here, boys. But the Optic's just a solid trail car. You throw brass knuckles on it, put a servo on it, and she's ready to rip. So since this video is about these cut and shuts, I am curious, for everybody watching, if you own a set of my cut and shuts, drop a comment down below. I'm curious how many people are watching that have bought a set of my tires. And if you have, thank you. I really appreciate it. I've been able to run my own business now for over 5 years, support my family, and just be able to create content for you guys, which is super cool. It's not lost on me. I really appreciate it. Still getting diffed out on this line. I fell right back into it. This is a difficult approach. It's funny, sometimes it's so frustrating knowing that if I just had rear steer, I could manipulate the truck exactly where I needed it to go. Okay, now we got our rear in a spot that should help us. Okay, now the front end needs a wrap around. Should be able to grab a hook up here. Bringing it a little further, and then turn and grab the hook. Nice, that's a fun line. The challenge with the wide straight axle setup. I am running 475 hubs on this guy for anybody curious. Again, the 2.2 Battleborn Sierras. And I can't remember if these have brass rings in the front or not. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. I'm not going to complain about finding lines in the shade right now. That definitely feels nice. Never driven this one. This is going to be a belly breakover obstacle for sure, but we might be able to put our front tire on the right wall and try and get us some clearance that way. I mean, that RTR servo just picked up the whole rear end of the truck and scooted it over. That was pretty impressive for stock. I typically don't drive RTR servos to the point of failure anymore. I used to all the time. It didn't take long. So that's kind of why I want to do that with this truck, is just get a feel for the market. It's been a couple of years since I've done that. Left rear tires floating up in the air. A little hop across, and she's ready to rip. That was nice. This area's got some really unique stuff. Just the way things have fallen and eroded over time. We're digging holes down there. I think our rear end was hung up on the axle. Now our front end's held up on the chassis. It's a couple of like crossed up ledges here. This is interesting. All right, turns out if you put the tires on the rocks instead of links and skid plate and axle housings, they go places. What is your guys' choice of Capra or Optic? And I will say, I think once fully built, the Capra is probably more capable. The cage is a little more trim. The portal axles are solid. I still use them on custom builds. I've built so many cars with Capra axles though, I hesitate to do it more. But they're just such a good choice, and I know them really well, which is also nice. I also have spare parts for them. But I mean, I've never had an issue with my H10s. They are very solid axles. I wish they were a little wider. Of course, we'd all love to see the H10 portals come out. I don't have any information on that, just saying I would love to see a portal version of these. And like I've mentioned before, I'd love to see an H10 variant and do something like I was just talking about, a little more trim cage, just something a little more competition buggy focused. I know a lot of cool different buggy chassis designs that would work awesome with that. Do a little bit wider axle, get those portals on there, do the hydraulic ram setup on those. Okay, we're gonna get the weight transfer up here. That worked out perfect. Almost, we gotta get the belly through. Luckily these have really smooth skid plates and it slips on through. Guys, this thing's doing awesome out here. Now this line right here, I've done it with the Capra, and I don't know how much the portals will have an advantage here. You end up getting the front end way up in there, and you have to get the front end hooked. That front right tire, the top edge of the tire is contacting that overhang. But look, our left rear is gonna fall off the wall. So I think typically I hop this. We're gonna see if we can crawl it. Nah, it's not gonna crawl that. We just gotta hop up there and get ourselves our hook. Okay, our front right tire is trying to climb the cliff overhang. There it is, there it is. Left rear is getting back down to the ground to get some contact made. We're on our belly. Use the wall if we need to. Get it up there, heck yeah, that's such a sick line. And the Optic did it. I'm really surprised. That was awesome. I figured that would take a couple attempts, and first try she was able to wiggle her way through. I do think the little hop there was the right call. I don't think it would have crawled it. And I don't think my Capra can either. I don't think it has the wheelbase. Heck yeah, the old Optic getting it done. And check out our background here, guys. Awesome red rock cliffs. Not a bad spot to come out and crawl for a bit, even if it is really hot. Our little stretched out rod end buddy is holding on for dear life. It's gotten even worse since we've started driving. And you know what? If I have a rod end fail, I'm completely fine with that. Those are very inexpensive. I would prefer that my rod ends break over basically any other component. That's a good weak point in a build. I need to get this housing off the rocks, because ideally we want to turn try and get up towards this passenger side. A little more bite up here. There she goes. I'm gonna pivot around now. If I had a little more steering angle with this setup. Knowing that little servo's just fighting for his life in there. There we go. Now this doesn't really lead to a good spot. This takes you up into a T shape in this crack. I have driven this a couple times, but you have to beat the hell out of your truck to pull it off. And without a really strong servo, I just don't see much happening here. Also, these tires are a little smaller than what I've previously stuffed into this. So And I don't have rear steer. Yeah, it just seems like a good way to brake this truck. So I think we'll save it for now. She doesn't have much to prove here. And that 4-link's about to explode in the back. I have driven up this line with a Reef's XP10, but that has an angled skid and some extra cheating features. So we're gonna see if we can get this thing lined up to land down below into a reverse entry. It might happen. It might get a little out of control. It might end up being a little bit of luck to this one. The breakover on this is pretty nasty. So I'm hoping that our forward weight bias will give us the advantage here to keep us in control longer. Now the car's getting pretty inclined, so the weight's going to transfer to the rear, even with our metal weights up front for that forward bias. Now we're back on our tires. I think we're going to land on our axle housing. Our rear tire didn't quite land on top of the rock. So, as I've mentioned a couple times already in this video, the rear edge of this cage just isn't doing us many favors. There we go. I think we're going to pull this one off. Try and keep that front end as balanced as we can on the way down. All right, the Optic came down, solid foot-tall ledge there. Landed on a rock that's off camber. Got the 16-point turn done, and we can be on our way. Well, I can't say that the Optic can't do this until I at least try and prove that idea. The geometry is a little unhappy with that angle and turning into the wall like it did, but if you get it settled, okay, I don't have faith that it'll pull the belly up and over this point. She wants to go. When I climb it up left and then I turn back right, it seems like it wants to go. But it wiggles and pivots on that skid. We're leaving some fresh rubber down on these rocks, getting these tires scrubbed in. Oh, there it is. All right. Took a little more effort than the old XP10. Lost about 2% of our tire life, but I'll take it. What I'm talking about here, guys, this little black powdery stuff, that's actual tire rubber and it gets laid down. Kind of funny to see that happen in real time. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to wrap things up here with our Vanquish Optic Brushless RTR. It's a Sparco edition. You can still get the brushed version if you want to save a few bucks. I highly recommend the brushless just because I'm going to put a brushless motor in them anyways. All of my RCs, I have brushless motors in them. And you can't go wrong with Hobbywing Fusion. This is the RTR brushless Fusion. It's not the SE. That's a slight upgrade, I believe. So it's a detail that I don't know if it matters to many other people, but that is what it is. It's the Fusion RTR. Vanquish really knocked this one out of the park, out of the box. I loved that it came with bigger tires with the 5.1. They're 4.9 labeled on the side, but if you measure them, they're 5.1 inches tall, which is pretty much exactly what these are. It really did awesome with that. Really, you add brass knuckles to it. Over time, you put a better servo in it. You got a really solid truck ready to go for a while. I personally have to put a rod end in it, which again, that's my fault. It got beat on by my young driver son, so I really don't mind that. I'll take a rod end any day of the week, especially over breaking serious parts. But I appreciate you guys watching. This was the first look at the cut and shut Baja Pro XS. You can find those on my website, westdesertwheeler.com. You can also just pick up a sticker pack there if you want, or other hard parts like a Red Cat Vertex 6 dig unit. We've got VFD flat skid adapters on there for the twin and the standard. We've got lots of fun stuff. So I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you in the next one. Keep the rubber side down.